Welcome to CramerSez. CramerSez. Be part of the show at CramerSez.com. Interact on Twitter at CramerSez. Now, CramerSez.
Welcome. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast. It is Friday. Yes, St. Patty's Day, March 17th. Welcome to the show. Let's get right into it, shall we? First of all, I don't know if you saw today that TikTok took me down again. Like, I don't know who makes that decision at TikTok that it's time for Kramer to go down. It generally happens somewhere about 6-7 million views. That's generally when it happens. I don't know if they've got some kind of limit on how much people can see this lovely mug of mine, but that's what happened today. In fact, I was on a live. I think the guy's name is My Dude. And he and I were having a debate back and forth, and he was being destroyed because he wouldn't answer questions. He wants to pivot all the time until you state a fact. Then he wants to say, well, that's whataboutism. No, it's a statement of fact. Anyway, during that live, boom, took me off. So we will be back up sometime over the weekend, and we'll see how it goes from there. Speaking of CramerSez and the CramerSez properties, I want to get you informed about a couple of different things that are going on here. Let me bring this up real quickly here. I'll go here. If you are not aware already, there is our platform, which is CramerSez.com. If you're getting tired of all of the social media platforms that limit you, they don't let you talk, they don't let you spread information, they won't let you allow you to build communities, we've built one for you. This is our first version. It is in the work. Well, it's up and running right now. You can join. It's free speech. And all you have to do is go to CramerSez.com. The addresses are there at the bottom of the screen. But that's not what we're proud about. We've had this for a while. What we're really excited about is what we're doing next. And that's the CramerSez app. This is pretty exciting because it does a number of different things. The first thing is that it's built on the blockchain. So it's secure. We're going to have Tusk search built in. So you'll be able to have a search engine that is a conservative-based search engine built into the platform. First time anybody's ever done that. In fact, Tusk right now is actually building out their very own search engine. So you'll want to pay attention to that as well. And then we're calling it Kramer Cash right now, but we're not stuck on that. But what that basically means is that we are bringing in a cash app into the social media platform so that you can easily transfer cash back and forth and buy things, all kinds of stuff. So the marketing of this from beginning to end is completely different. I don't mean the marketing. I mean the structure of it is completely different from beginning to end from a marketing standpoint. What I mean by that is that you'll be able to open your own stores on here. It is a true environment. It's what Facebook and the others promised and never delivered on. So we'll be talking about that here in the next few weeks. What we've got to do is we've got to build out a parallel economy to replace those products that the left now says they own and they're going to treat like the play school playground, where they're going to make up rules on the fly. The rules change on a daily basis. And so it's important to keep in mind that we can do the same exact thing. I don't know about you, but when I got upset, what I did is I went out and I built my own playground. I'm not going to play by their rules. So we're building our own playground. We'll hope you join us. In closing, social media is here to stay. And I think it's important for people to understand that instead of talking about everything that's bad about social media, why don't we work to make it better? And so that's what CramerSez, the CramerSez app, is intended to do. Your chance to get involved with this is coming soon, and we'll tell you more about that down the road. If you didn't see Steve Bannon here in the last couple of days talking about the banks, that's what I wanted to talk about primarily in the opening here, is the banks that we have in this country have been playing a game on the American people for a long time. And it's time for the American people to wake up as to what these banks have been doing and how they've been treating the American people and how they've been getting rich on our backs, on our sweat, on our equity. And I think it's interesting that those in DC don't seem to have a problem with the status quo. And what that means to me right now is that if you tied a 20-pound rock around their waist, they would try to justify how it's going to help them not drown, because that's exactly what's happening here. By continuing to have the Fed we're going to continue to have these problems. Why? Well, the Fed is not working for you. It doesn't work for me. It works for the people who, well, finance the Fed, the richest families in our nation, the richest families on the planet. They're the ones that are determining at this point what you and I see and hear and all of that. And they don't want to give that up. And the way that they've attained that power is through the Fed. Through the Fed, they've got unlimited ability to print cash and direct the economy in the direction that they want it to go. Yeah, I know it sounds James Bondish, right? It sounds like something from a spy novel. But the more you dive into this, the more that you find out that the Fed is at the root of all of our problems, at least on the financial point. Since 1913, they've been meddling in the economy, not just here, but around the planet. And they say it's for our best interest, but they just came out the other day. Powell came out just the other day and said, yes, millions are going to have to lose their jobs so that we can get this nation back on track. And why do millions have to lose their jobs? Well, because for the last 14, 15 years, the Fed has been giving away free money. So Dave Bratt was on the Steve Bannon program, The War Room, this morning, I believe it was. And he has a unique insight on how to deal with this situation that we're finding ourselves in with the Fed and these failing banks. Let's get rid of that. Hold on a second here. Let's get rid of that. That's supposed to be gone. Oh, there we go. Let's go to this one.
Accommodated and validated every move we're talking about here. We need to get rid of the Federal Reserve Bank. We're talking about bank nationalization. It already happened with the creation of the Federal Reserve System. It's just that the populace now are catching on.
Yep.
Now they've learned how to do math thanks to this show and others. We've already nationalized banks. Now they're just getting more sophisticated, and they're using this crisis, which they're master at, to further nationalize the banks. We go back to 07, 08, John Taylor. Don't take it from Dave Bratt. Take it from Stanford economics, the follower of Milton Friedman, who won a Nobel Prize for monetary theory. John Taylor will tell you, and I had it wrong back then, 04, 05, the Federal Reserve printed too much money and caused. A lot of things are correlated.
Exactly.
Here. And
listen.
Steve Bannon has been 100% on the woke stuff and the blah, blah, blah. That ain't the thesis. And even the Biden spending cannot be done unless it's accommodated by the Federal Reserve. I had a couple of graphs on yesterday.
Yes.
The Fed, wham, M2 goes through the roof to accommodate the government spending, which is nuts, right? But asking Biden and the Democrats not to spend is like saying Karl Marx has a heart for humanity. It's not true.
No. This is called, hang on, this is called fiscal domination. They've allowed they've allowed the Bidens and they've allowed the accommodationist Republicans to do this, and the Fed went along with it, and that's why they're in this jam. Let me go back to Navarro.
Congress is not doing their homework, and the Congress needs to call for the end of the Federal Reserve.
That's it right there. Congress has to call for the end to the reserve. They are enriching themselves on our backs on a daily basis. You look at this mess that's going on there. What exactly is happening? Huh? Do you see what's happening in this country? Do you see who the people here that we're bailing out are? I'm not talking about the institutionalist. I'm not talking about the mutual funds and the other institutions. I mean, the people at the top of this list, as far as who the fund holders are, can you read? It's all the usual suspects: Vanguard, State Street, BlackRock, all the big fellas, all the guys that are always at the top, always got their hand out first for money from the federal government. They're the ones that rule everything. They're the decision makers. They're the deciders. But it's not them that we're worried about. That it's not them that we're concerned about. It's that 1.61%. Those are the people that were just bailed out. BlackRock and the other guys are all taken care of. But it was those dudes. We've got to find out who the 1.61% are. Because those are the people who pulled the strings to get their asses covered because they were over leveraged. Their ESG nonsense has gotten them knee deep into trouble. I mean, what SVB was doing, think about it from the standpoint of SVB gave $75 million, 74 plus $74 million to Black Lives Matter causes. Now, Black Lives Matter didn't get any of that money. They didn't see a dime of that. That went to Act Blue. Act Blue is the arbiter of where that money goes next. And where do you think that money went? I'll guarantee you where it went. It went back to the Biden administration and the DNC. If you don't pay attention to where the money's going, you don't know what's going on. The best thing that the first thing that people should do, rather, is they should be looking at who these individual stakeholders are. These individual stakeholders, these people right here are the ones that are holding our country hostage. They're the ones we're bailing out. Now, we were just told by Fed Chair Janet Yellen that no, if you're a local bank, you don't get bailed out. If you're one of the local savings groups, you don't get bailed out. It's only these people, the people that can go in and that can give large amounts of money on a regular basis to the DNC and to Democrat politicians. And by the way, they do this on both sides. But right now, the Democrats are in charge, right? So with the Democrats in charge, we're going to blame them because they have the opportunity right now to change this. And when things turn around, we'll go back and we'll tell the Republicans it's their responsibility to do it as well. It's their responsibility to get this back on track. It's amazing to me that the mainstream media, all the pundits, all of the talking heads on TV right now are saying, well, Trump rolled back these policies back in, 2018. It's his responsibility. It's his fault for what's going on. It was Democrat bankers and Democrat lobbyists and Democrat money people at SVB. They're not Republicans. Those are Democrats that took advantage of the people and over-leveraged themselves. Don't put this back at Trump's feet. They're the ones who got themselves into the situation. I mean, the idiocy of the left is to say, well, Trump deregulated some things and people took advantage of it. Now look at everything. That's like saying if we don't put safety handles on everything, at some point, somebody's going to get hurt. At some point, you've got to take responsibility and you've got to point accountability at the people who are responsible for it. Stop this bullshit of trying to point it at Trump or somebody with an R next to their name. Or vice versa, somebody with a D. I'm so tired of people not looking at the problem. They want to assign it to somebody else. They want to project it onto somebody else. It's their fault that we're here. It's their fault that we're in the situation that we're in. We've got to start expecting accountability from the people that represent us. And not just accountability for themselves, but accountability to their party, left or right, center as well. That's what we have to start demanding. That when you see a dude like, what's his name? Santos. When you see someone like Santos and you realize that they're a liar and they're a detriment to the party, you have to bring them out. You cannot allow them to proceed. It only hurts us. It only hurts our cause. It only hurts our credibility. Now you got to work with the little fucker. He ain't going anywhere. And guess what? When push comes to shove, I'll just about guarantee you, unless McCarthy and Republican leadership have some balls to them, they're going to let this little fucker stay there because they've already got the seat. If they were real men, if they were real patriots, if they were real conservatives and Republicans, they would primary the little dude and get him pushed out, gone. Because we don't need them. We don't need people like this in our ranks. We don't need liars and shysters and people who will misguide the public on what their intentions are just to get in office. That being said, we'll be right back after this. This is our sponsor, Tusk. If you haven't gotten the Tusk browser, go do it now. TuskBrowser.com. Welcome back. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast, and we are doing lives every night, every weekday night, starting around 8-ish. Tonight was a little slow. We had a couple little things we had to get through tonight. Had an audio issue again. Got it worked out. It's just funny, the bugs that you find that you run it one time and it works, and the next time you run it doesn't. We're getting all those things kicked out. Hey, the reason for the show tonight in particular is, and what we're doing on the 8 o'clock show is to be able to have you call in. So if you want to call in and talk and cavort and share stories and lies and so on, now's the time to do that. Give me a call at 877-619-3899. That's 877-619-3899. And let's talk about what's been going on in the last week here. I think it's imperative that the American people start to begin to have a conversation about what's important and not this bullshit that we've been spending all of our time wasting, ranting and raving on social media about. You can see that the banking system, as we said a year ago, we talked about this a year ago, that it would go away, that it would dissolve. They were going to have to nationalize things. And I say it sounds like insanity when I say it, but it's the only way we can go. You can't shut down the nation for 2 years. And not expect that there's going to be some kind of slapback, some kind of event that is detrimental to the nation. I mean, we saw over the last 2 years what our government officials were willing to do to maintain control and maintain their positions. And if we don't start talking about these things and stop hiding from them and expecting that our politicians are going to step up and do the right thing, we're going to end up in 2024, 2025, 2026 begging for basic freedoms. I don't think that is crazy to say that at all anymore. Based on what we've seen over the last 2 years, it is abundantly clear that not just the Biden administration and Democrats, but even people within our own party are demanding the limitation of your freedoms because they fear this. They fear the communication capabilities that we have at our fingertips these days. 25, 30 years ago, you couldn't be in a position like this. You couldn't be sitting here having a conversation like this with the entire planet. It's one of the reasons I got off Facebook. Facebook, I realized at some point, I'm only screaming and yelling at my friends and neighbors, the people that I know. And we've already determined how we feel about these issues. And so it's kind of like I'm beating a dead horse with a dead horse. And so I went to Twitter, took off on Twitter. Twitter banned me. And I said, fuck it. I'm done with social media. Not going to do that anymore. And then the TikTok thing comes up. And it takes off on TikTok. By the way, that was a fluke. Total fluke. But that's when I realized the power of these mediums. And if you've got a message and you've got a mission, you can make change happen, but you can't do it by yourself. You can't do it alone. You've got to have people behind you that believe in you and are willing to pick up some of the weight around the community and help out. You've got to start doing it, folks. It can't just be those of us who are brave enough or stupid enough to step in front of a camera or in front of a microphone and give our opinions. You have to start taking action locally. You have to be the agents of change in your local communities. It can't be me. It can't be Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk. Trump can't even do it for you. You have to start doing that yourself. And it starts with conversation, finding out that you've got other people in your community that believe the same way that you do. That's why we've built CramerSez. It gives you the ability to go build a community. You can build a group of people in your community that you know and trust. It gives you the ability to do these things. This is what they don't want us doing. This is why they wouldn't allow us to go to churches. This is why they wouldn't allow us to go to work. It's why they wouldn't allow us to go to gyms or bars. You could go get pot and you could get an abortion during the pandemic. That's important shit. But you can't go get a drink. You can't go to church. You can't communicate with each other in person. And no. We need to be able to track all your conversations, either over the phones, the digital systems, right? or via electronic transmission of text and so on. Think about that. All the communication that you had with your family during the pandemic, for the most part, was over electronic devices. First time in American history that's been the case. If you don't realize and you don't start taking action, you don't start standing up locally, there's not going to be a revolution in Washington, D.C., folks. That's fanciful. Not going to happen. Logistically, it won't do anything. The last time that D.C. was a real target was 1812. The power in this nation is not in D.C. It's in you. It's in me. It's in our local communities. That's where the power of this nation is. They want to make you believe that their F-16s and their F-15s and their automatic weapons, that's what gives them their power. It doesn't. We do. You and I. And if you don't start acting on the power that you have, the power that is yours right now, today, if you don't start taking action, they'll just etch away at your freedoms a little at a time, more and more and more. Every day, they'll take something else. Fuck your kids. They'll learn what we want them to learn. They're property of the state now. Fuck you. You would have never expected to have heard what you've heard from educators and politicians, pundits, about what the role the state should play in your kids' lives. You've never heard them talk about things the way that they're talking now. Rachel Levine comes out, and what does she say? She says that sex change operations for children, not adults, not 18 plus, for minors is going to become more and more and more common. And we're going to have to accept it. And we expect this to happen in the next 2 years. Listen, I don't care what anybody does with their body. I don't care if you want to mark it up. I don't care if you want to insert. I don't care. After you're 18, after your age of consent, after it's your responsibility, legally and otherwise, for your decisions. Do whatever you want at that point. I don't care. And if you want to raise that limit to 21, good with that too. Oh, Kramer, that means I'm going to have to wait another 3 years to drink. Trust me, it's worth it. It's worth the wait. For those that ask, tonight's drink is Woodford. Woodford with a little spring water. So there you go. So give us a call. I want to hear from you tonight. The number to call in at is 877-619-3899, 877-619-3899. Would love to hear your input on what's going on in your part of the country, wherever you are, whatever's going on in your life. How is the Biden administration and the lack of Republican support? We're not hearing the voices of our local politicians. They're awful quiet. They're going to start gearing up here pretty soon because the political season is about to begin. And they're going to come tell you, and they're going to come knocking on your door. Hey, if you vote for me, I'll fight for you. The question you've got to ask yourself is, how hard did they fight for you 2 years ago? How hard have they fought for you since? Their voices are awful silent right now, aren't they? There's only one way. There's only one way that this resolves itself, is for you, the American people, to start making your voices heard. Kramer, how do we do that? You show up. You go to your local mayor. Well, I'll get in trouble. You're already in trouble. If you demand freedom, if you demand that you can't do this to me, you can't do it. You don't have the authority. And you start sticking to it. I've said it a million times. People keep going, we need a leader, we need a leader. And I keep telling people, be the leader you expect. What leader in your community are you looking for? Are you looking for a national leader? Nah, it's too early for that. You've got to start getting local people together. Look at what's going on right now in East Palestine, or Steen, however you want to pronounce it. Look at that community torn apart. Did the federal government come in to help? Nope, they came in and abandoned the people initially. wasn't until Trump showed back up that they had some interest in the community. When the federal government abandoned those people, what was their only hope? It was local community. That's what it was. Local community. That's what we have to build. That's what they want to separate. That's why, they've put in all of these classifications as to who people are, and the more ranking and the more classification, and it's you're gay or you're straight or you're bi or you're trans or you're black or you're white or you're Indian or you're whatever. It's division. I don't care what all those people are. They're Americans first. Not to Democrats. No, Democrats see them as a group that they can wedge in and separate from everybody else and say, we're going to make you special if you'll just give us unbridled support. We just need all of your attention and all of your energy, and just give us support, and we'll make your cause whatever. Now, I don't have much faith in these people. And the reason I don't have any faith in these people, left or right, is because they make promises to get a job. And then the only ones that can hold them responsible for not doing that job, especially if they're corrupt, is them. You don't have any authority to go take somebody out of office. No, it's those people. We saw what happened with the 2020 election. We saw what happened with Kerry Lake's election. We've seen what happened with several of these election lawsuits. Judges don't want to mess with them, so they just don't get heard. They just don't get heard. And that's how they say, well, Kramer, Trump lost this many or that many cases. He lost 60-some cases. Trump didn't lose any cases. They were never heard. You can't hear a case that's never heard. Not a single one of those cases went in front of a judge or jury. Not a single one. Isn't that odd? It's how they use words like there's no evidence of. Meanwhile, you're sitting back here and you're having arguments on Facebook with people you're not going to convince. Wasted time. You're spending time on social media, going back and forth with other people on social media about shit that doesn't matter. He said, she said bullshit. Seen it time and time again on both TikTok and Instagram. I don't get it. I don't have that kind of time. I don't know what if you do. When I say you, I know you know who I'm talking about, right? You know exactly what I'm talking about. If it's not you, you know someone who's doing it. And we've got to stop that. We've got to come together as a nation. We have to come together as Americans. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing. It's time that people realize that left or right, at the end of the day, when those in charge want to do what they're going to do next, they're going to do it to all of us, regardless of who we vote for. They don't care. They are going to take advantage of the situation to their degree, and until there's a point where they don't need any of us. They don't need those guys, and they don't need those guys. And we're getting closer and closer to that all the time. I keep, waiting for the day that we're going to see, a huge shift, and you're already starting to see it with this Willow Project. I think that it's interesting that the left now is balking. Whoa, 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 whoa! They're using their mobile phones and they're on their plastic bikes, and they use all of these products. Have no idea how they're manufactured or used or whatever. And they're demanding that the materials required to make them happen be destroyed, that they no longer be used. It's amazing to me. I do not understand that at all. And you try to explain it to them, and they've got 7 different reasons as to why the planet's going to end in 10 to 12 years. And I go, okay. At what point are you going to give up that phone? Well, what do you mean? Well, you get rid of oil, that phone ain't going to work. Because everything that makes that phone work, everything requires fuel. Everything. It either requires coal, natural gas, or oil. The people who create the content, they'll just stay at home. Okay, how are you going to heat their homes? How are you going to cool their homes? Wind ain't going to do it. Solar ain't going to do it. So how are we going to get there? In the meantime, we're having the conversation. What we're doing is we're sitting here bitching and barking at each other on these social media platforms as these wackos. And when I say this, they're fucking crazy. These motherfuckers are fucking crazy. These are James Bond villains. I mean, you've got Klaus Schwab making decisions. This guy is straight out of James Bond. He is the supervillain of supervillains. The accent alone is enough, let alone that we will be the starters, the arbiters of what is new and for the new world. That guy's making decisions for you. An unelected official is telling your elected official what to do, and they're doing it. And if you expect those people to straighten up and fly right, you're sadly mistaken. They're not going to do it. There's no reason for them to do it. Why would they do it? You're not going to do anything. You're just going to bitch and moan about what's going on and how things suck so bad. And that's why they can continue to do what they're doing. Klaus Schwab knows that the American people are too fat and sassy right now. They're not dissatisfied enough. You're not dissatisfied enough. You're not uncomfortable enough. We're only going to get one vacation in this year. Or, well, we're not going to get a vacation in this year, but at least I still have my job. What happens when you lose your job? What happens when that's gone? What happens when it's time to address the issue with the landlord, or the car loan, or the mortgage, or the school loan, or being able to afford the babysitter, or whatever luxury that you have in your life that allows you to do what you do? How much do you have to suffer before you realize that what's going on in this nation right now is not going to change? It is not going to change until you take action, until you say enough is enough, until you say we're going to do things differently. Well, Kramer, I don't have any power. Yes, you do. You know how I know? Because I saw how scared the politicians on the left and the right were after January 6th. We have all the power, people. All the action that they've taken in the last 2 years is to ensure their power structure doesn't crumble. And they're fucking it up left and right, trying to retain their power. They're scared shitless of we the people. That's why they're trying to take the actions that they're taking. That's why the Democrats want to take control of elections at the federal level. That's unconstitutional. You can't do that. That's a state's issue. They don't care. And if you think those people are going to step up and do the right thing because, well, the polls look bad, you're childishly naive. With that, we'll be back in just a moment. This is our sponsor, Tusk, the Tusk browser. If you don't already have it, go get yourself a copy of Tusk browser. It's free, built by conservatives for conservatives, tuskbrowser.com. And welcome back. My name is Kramer. This is the CramerSez podcast. We are live. We're going to be doing this every weekday night at 8 p.m. So feel free to join us. And we'd love to have you call in. If you're out there and you just want to talk, or you've got something you want to say, you want to bitch at somebody, you want to bitch about something, give me a call now. The number is toll free. Call 877-619-3899. Toll free. The call is free. 877-619-3899. The phone lines are open. Here's one of the interesting things that came up in the last couple of days that I've been cracking up about. And I think that it's funny that the Hunter Biden team right now is trying to they're trying to play both sides of the fence. On one hand, they're saying, well, that's not my laptop. That's not my content. I'm not going to say anything about it, right? I'm not going to say it's mine. Now, the lawyers came out and said that, but the Biden family has never admitted to it. So we'll see how that plays out. So on one hand, they're saying that that's not mine and it's not important. That's a nothing burger. And then on the other hand, they're now suing the computer store owner that revealed the information to the FBI first. And when they failed to act, then he went to Rudy Giuliani. I think it's interesting that the Hunter Biden team thinks the American people are stupid and that we don't have the internet. We don't have these devices in our hands that can give us any information anywhere on the planet instantly, and that we can't go back and look at what they were just saying 8 months ago, 2 years ago, when it was Russian disinformation then. You see, you can't play both sides of the coin. You've either got to be heads or tail. Nobody picks the edge. Nobody picks it. Now, that's a third side of the coin that nobody picks, but it's an option. But nobody's picking that. You've got to be either heads or tails in this issue. You've got to pick which one you want to be in. Which side, what part of the argument are you? And the Biden administration, well, they don't want to talk anything about it. KGP goes up there and, well, this and this happened. Well, I can't talk about it. You're going to have to talk to Hunter Biden's representation. Well, we've talked to them. They won't talk to us either. Can we talk to Joe? No, Joe's not going to take any questions at all on this matter or otherwise. And you'd be stupid to ask. I think it was funny here in the last couple of days that what we saw with KGP telling the people in the audience, they're all saying, hey, listen, he won't talk to us. If you think that these people are going to solve your problems for you, if you think that these people are going to risk their position and speak out for you, if you think that these people who promised to go fight for you are actually going to deliver on that promise, like I've said before, you're childishly naive. There are a handful of patriots, and I'm going to say this, and I know that people will shake their heads and they won't believe it, but there are a handful of patriots in this nation on both sides of the aisle. There are patriots from both parties. We disagree with each other on policy. I don't believe they're evil. I think that we all have the potential of being evil, but the leadership, the people at the top, both sides of the party right now, we've got issues with evil people. People that are there for power only, that have no connection to you, your family, or anybody else other than them and theirs. And we're seeing that right now with the Biden family. And to tell you how intertwined and how incestuous Washington, D.C. is, these Ivy League schools, big business, big tech, and so on, is that in the last few days, you've seen several different videos of Mitt Romney coming to defend Hunter Biden, that it's not cool to go after these kids. They have nothing to do with things. These aren't kids. These are grown adults. They know what their actions are. They know that they're illegal. And so you can't sit here and tell me, Mr. Romney, that we shouldn't look into these issues. And then what do you know? What the fuck? You go in and you take a look at it. Well, Romney's kids are knee deep. Not even knee deep, neck deep in all this shit too. That's how Washington, the swamp, treats you and treats me. They think we're stupid. They think that we don't have the common sense of a grass ant, whatever the fuck that is. They think that they know better and they can be our masters and they can tell us what to do. I've said it many times. Life hasn't changed since 7th grade. The rules on the playground, you know who the kids are. They always come onto the playground and they want to make the rules. And as soon as they start to lose, they change the rules. Democrats say that we do that. Okay. Show me where we changed the definitions of words so that it wouldn't be a recession. Show me where we changed the definition of the word vaccine in particular when the vaccine didn't act like a vaccine. I don't recall that coming from the right. That's not a conservative ideal. You see, conservatives like to have black or white. We don't like gray. No, we like black and white. In fact, we like all colors. But we like black and white. Yes, no. Why? Well, because we don't have to dance that dance that you guys do of what the fuck to call you today, this moment, this second. For these people to take the American people serious, we have to stop complying on a number of different levels. And over the next few weeks, we're going to be spelling out exactly how to do that. Nope, you do not have to stop paying taxes. If you choose to do that, I applaud you. No, you do not have to stop working. Nope. But if you do that, I applaud you. You don't have to take to the streets and scream and yell and act like idiots. And I don't know why, by the way, tangent point here. Why every time the left decides that they're going to go on some rant or whatever, why do they think that it's necessary for the women to take their tops off? In France, in Germany, or not in Germany, in Europe in particular, it just amazes me that every time that they're upset, they run into the street with their tops off. Like, okay, I don't, that's happen. How does that help the problem? Hey, grabs attention. Nobody's looking at your problem. They're only looking at your tits. Anyway, I digress. Until people start coming together and building communities, we can't get to the next part. That's what you have to do next. That's the action that you have to take. You have to become strong in your community and stop waiting for a Messiah to come save you. You have to build your community, those people that you can rely on. Because when the government starts knocking on your fucking door, you need people behind you because the government ain't going to come and save your back. They're not going to come save you. They're not going to be your savior. How do I know? Well, look at what's going on right now. Are they coming to your defense? They're not coming to your defense. They came to the defense of the millionaires and billionaires with these bank collapses. Did you see what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried, FTX? What happened there? Do you recall what happened there? How many weeks was that young man gallivanting around the Bahamas, wherever he was in the out in the Caribbean? How long did he get to hang out? Do you think that you would have been given that same opportunity? No, you wouldn't have. How do I know? Because they're about to indict Trump. They arrested Steve Bannon and brought him in handcuffs. By the way, if you haven't heard the information about Trump being indicted, it's likely to happen next week. I think that we have to start utilizing these tools for communication of information and news between each other and stop relying on these corporations that are owned by Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street and the others. That's how you don't comply. You drop these people. If you haven't heard, and I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here as we close up. We got about 9 minutes left. If you haven't heard about ESG, take a dive into that rabbit hole. Go take a look at what ESG is, what it means, and the impact that it's making on your life. If you're a subscriber to the Epic Times, and I think you can watch it for free if you give them your email address. There's a new documentary called The Shadow State. Go take a look at it. Watch it. Because what's happening is we're losing our rights to corporations. through ESG. ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance. And the governance part is corporate governance. And what that means is for those issues that they can't get remedied through the courts, the corporations will put in policies that allow them to carry out those agendas on a corporate level. For example, the government didn't make you wear masks. BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street made you wear masks. They own 95% of the, I think it's the S&P 500. 95% of the S&P 500. You can go into the shadow state. They have that number there. That's where I got it from. 95% of the S&P 500 is owned by 3 companies. The controlling share of everything in our nation is owned by 3 companies. Those 3 companies are Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. So when you had to don a mask at Lowe's and you had to don a mask at Home Depot, how do you think that they got those things coordinated between those 2 organizations that have no ties between them other than being owned or majority controlled by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street? You've got to stop looking. You've got to stop looking for a political solution to this, because the politicians are owned by those 3 companies. They make decisions for your life on a daily basis. ESG is the most destructive issue that's going around today. So you ask, well, Kramer, that's just the corporations. Well, we can get that taken care of in legislation. You can't if you can't win elections. And you can't win elections based on the last two cycles. Nope, we're done. Nope. We didn't resolve what happened in 2020. We still have to resolve that. So elections in the future, we shall see. I don't have much faith based on what I'm seeing and the non-transparency of people who want to protect democracy with secrecy. That would make a great t-shirt. I'm going to write that one down. We can't expect to move forward until we resolve these issues. And we can't resolve these issues because the people in charge, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, and the puppets that they control, until we get this resolved, until we get them out of our politics, our nation is lost. And by the way, if you're unsure or unaware of how they do what they do, they use your money against you. You see, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, they're investment firms. Your company where you work, they invest in BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. That's where your 401k is. That's where your retirement plan is. And then those 3 companies go out and they buy shares in big companies. And that's how they get their returns. And that's how they guarantee your retirement and your 401k and so on. Then they take all that money that you sent in and they go in and they say, hey, listen, since we control all of this, we're not going to go ask the people that we represent. We're not going to go back to them and ask them if they want us to do this. But we personally, as individuals, private citizens who own this company that has all this stock in other people's names, we're going to come in. We're not going to ask them. We're going to come in and we're going to demand that you do these things. CRT. All the bullshit that's going on, ESG. That's the social part of it. The trans movement, the LGBTQA, all of this disruption that we've seen in our schools, all of it, ESG. You can read it in their documents. They spell out exactly what they want. The 15-minute cities, ESG. The thing that's happening over in Saudi Arabia, ESG. Oxfordshire, where they're testing out the 15-minute cities, ESG. Environmental. They can burn fucking trains. They can burn a train wreck. But don't let a fucking cow fart. That's the ideology of ESG. You can blow up a fucking city, but you can't have plastic straws. ESG. Folks, if you don't start building a community around you when this thing falls, think about what happened during Katrina in New Orleans. What was the government's response? Do you remember how slow it was? Now, I don't blame anybody for that because it takes time logistically to put things together, to put things in motion. It just does. When you have an emergency, it just takes time to get that. Now imagine we have a national emergency. We just learned today or in the last few days that is potential that ISIS could hit, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, other places around the world, but potentially here in the U.S. in the next 6 months. Oh, by the way, we've got aliens hovering above us. Distraction after distraction, distraction after distraction, distraction after distraction to hide their corruption. What Hunter Biden and his people did, his associates, even what Biden has done is not even close to what's actually going on this planet right now. And if you sit there and you think that it's going to get better by relying on the 24 elections, you're being childishly naive. With that being said, I'm out of here. This is the Kramer Says podcast. We are live every weekday night at 8 p.m. Please join us. You can call in. The number to call us in at if you want to. It didn't happen tonight, but we'll try it again, is 877-619-3899, 877-619-3899. We're going to take a break for about 15 minutes, and we're coming back live. We will see you again then. Thanks so much.
Get more at CramerSez.com.